called a general strike today. Israeli strikes have killed at least 48 people in the Gaza Strip. This is what Palestinian health authorities have confirmed as clashes took place in the central and southern areas of the enclave ahead of the planned start of a polio vaccination campaign. Prime Minister Modi will be in Brunei on the 3rd and 4th of September on a bilateral visit. The visit, which is historical in more than one way, will be the first bilateral visit ever by an Indian Prime Minister to the country and also aligns with the 40th anniversary of the establishment of bilateral ties between India and Brunei. And according to the latest poll, US Vice President and Democrat presidential nominee Kamala Harris holds a 4-point lead over former US President Donald Trump. Russia says its forces had seized the village of Kirovo in the Donetsk region and were continuing to advance deeper into the Ukrainian defense lines, while Ukraine said its forces engaged in 109 battles with the Russian army in various directions, with several still ongoing. Russia says it will shift its nuclear doctrine due to the escalation course of our Western adversaries. The announcement came as Kyiv pushed its allies again for permission to use their long-range weapons inside Russia. Germany's far right made historic gains, winning a state election for the first time as per exit polls. United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has issued an emergency tender for the procurement of monkeypox vaccines in view of its rapid spread. Mpox has been declared as a public health emergency, as you know, by the World Health Organization. Well, our big focus, Israelis staged mass protests against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu after the bodies of 6 hostages were recovered in Gaza, including an Israeli-American dual national. A major trade union has now been called. A general strike has been called for today because many blame Netanyahu for the stalled ceasefire and hostage return negotiations. But neither he nor Hamas seem in a rush to agree to such a deal as per local media reports. As per analysts, though, Netanyahu believes a deal could undo his government, while Hamas sees allowing tension to boil over into a regional war as a potentially favorable outcome. However, it's also possible that agreeing a ceasefire now could be seen as a victory for Netanyahu, and any subsequent surge of approval may help him survive re-election ever if his current government fractures. This is what some analysts argue.
אנחנו ביום קשה. לב העם כולו נקרע. יחד עם כל אזרחי ישראל, הזדעזעתי עד עמקי נשמתי מהרצח הנורא בדם קר של 6 מחטופינו. המאמצים שלנו לשחרר את חטופינו נמשכים כל העת. מאז חודש דצמבר, חמאס מסרב לנהל משא ומתן אמיתי. לפני 3 חודשים, ב-27 במאי, ישראל הסכימה לעסקת שחרור חטופים בגיבוי מלא של ארצות הברית. החמאס סירב.
With that, let's get you a quick update as far as the US presidential race is concerned. Vice President Kamala Harris entered Labor Day weekend with a national polling lead over former President Donald Trump in the race for the White House, but the race still seems up for grabs. Kamala Harris's lead in Minnesota has been halved by Donald Trump, one new survey showed, despite the state governor, Tim Walz, joining the Democratic ticket. The most recent poll by Survey USA has found that Kamala Harris is now leading Trump 48% to 43% in the must-win swing state. But though still healthy, her lead has shrunk to 5 percentage points in the space of a month, having led 50% to 40% in a poll conducted between the 23rd and 25th of July. But the new poll surveyed included about 600 likely voters, and as far as swing states are concerned, it is quite the race to the White House. But the latest poll showing Kamala Harris with a comfortable 4-point lead over the former US president. Meanwhile, Russia says it will shift its nuclear plan due to the escalation course of our Western adversaries. The announcement actually came as Kyiv pushed its allies again for permission to use their long-range weapons inside Russia. Nevertheless, Ukraine's push into Russia continues. Also on Sunday, Moscow said it shot down 158 drones targeting energy infrastructure. However, Ukraine could lose momentum, Kyiv said, unless it gets long-range weapons permission, something its allies and particularly the United States are reluctant to give in the face of Russian President Vladimir Putin's seemingly increased unpredictability. No one really knows the Russian red line for nuclear arms use. This is what a former Soviet arms negotiator has also asserted. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to visit Brunei on the 3rd and 4th of September, seeking to further strengthen the bilateral cooperation in all existing sectors. This will be the first bilateral visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei, and the visit will also mark 40 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between both our countries. It is a crucial visit, with the Indo-Pacific being highlighted, but our Prime Minister will also visit Singapore. This will be on the 4th and 5th of September at the invitation of Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, with a goal to play a bigger role in the region where China has a major influence, as you are well aware, stepping up engagement with Southeast Asia after hosting Prime Ministers of Vietnam and Malaysia in the past one calendar month. In fact, Brunei is an important partner in India's Act East policy and its vision of the Indo-Pacific as well. So this is being seen as a historic visit for more than one reason. The Prime Minister expected to be on an action-packed visit from tomorrow until the 4th of September in Brunei, seeking to further strengthen India's bilateral cooperation in all existing sectors, whether it's trade, whether it's defense, whether it's people-to-people ties, and even tourism. This will be the first bilateral visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei, as I just mentioned. And it doesn't end there. Prime Minister Modi will then touch down in Singapore. He has been invited by Lawrence Wong there. The goal in Singapore is to play a bigger role in the region where China actually has a major influence, stepping up engagement with Southeast Asia after actually hosting the PMs of Vietnam and Malaysia in the past one calendar month. As far as the key highlights are concerned, let's just take you through what the discussions will revolve around. While the visit is expected to strengthen cooperation in all existing sectors, the key focus is on defense, on trade and investment, as well as the energy and technology sector. This visit also coincides with the 40th anniversary of India and Brunei diplomatic ties, and Brunei has been a crucial partner in India's Act East policy as well as the Indo-Pacific vision. So the first bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister will be closely watched not just by India but all those in the neighborhood as well. The discussions will also be on cooperation in newer sectors for which the Ministry of External Affairs is expected to brief us shortly. As I mentioned, Brunei is an important partner in India's Act East policy and its vision of the Indo-Pacific. India has also increased focus on the Southeast Asia sector, the area, and the strategic pivot towards the Indo-Pacific. This as China continues to expand its presence through economic and military means. So each movement of our Prime Minister is watched very closely with a key focus on defense, trade and investment, energy, and tech ties too. So for the 3rd and 4th of September, the Prime Minister will touch down in Brunei, after which he will be in Singapore for 2 brief days. These visits are expected to further strengthen the bilateral cooperation in existing sectors as we have been reporting, and this visit to Brunei will also mark 40 years of the establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Brunei. After which, Prime Minister Modi will be in Singapore with the goal to play a bigger role in the region where China is exerting a major influence. Right, joining us for a ground report from Manila at the moment, Don McLean-Gill. He's a lecturer in the Department of International Studies at the De La Salle University in Manila. Thanks so much, Don, for making time for us. As we are well aware, Brunei is an important partner in India's Act East policy and its vision of the Indo-Pacific. How do you see this visit impacting India's ties with Brunei? Are there any specific sectors both countries stand to gain from in particular?
I couldn't hear the anchor.
Am I audible to you now, Don?
Hello?
Are we audible to you now, Don? Right, we seem to be having a technical issue with that audio line with Don McLean-Gill joining us live from Manila. But as I mentioned, India's increased focus on Southeast Asia and the strategic pivot towards the Indo-Pacific as China continues to expand its presence through economic and military means. This upcoming engagement with Brunei and Singapore, it's being viewed as a broader strategy to build robust regional alliances and promote stability in the Indo-Pacific as well. With that, let's turn our attention now to Gaza, where a polio vaccination campaign has started. An ambitious effort by health authorities there to vaccinate over 640,000 Palestinian children against the backdrop of a devastating war that has destroyed the territory's healthcare system, and it's in shambles as we speak. The campaign comes after the first polio case in 25 years was reported in Gaza, involving a 10-month-old boy who is now paralyzed in one leg.
On Sunday, the solution to safeguard the health of the children of Gaza is a ceasefire. The best medicine is peace.
Mohammed Ghazali joins us live for an update. He's been tracking the finer details for us. Ghazali, the polio vaccination campaign has started in Gaza and there's a pause in fighting for this vaccination campaign?
Yeah, the polio campaign for vaccination of these kids have started, but it is a very hyper-localized pausing of war. That the war has stopped near the centers where these vaccination will be carried out among the kids. The WHO officials or the volunteers who are practicing or who are operating in Gaza Strip are active yet again, but the attacks is still continue. So the vaccination program, though it is being claimed that perhaps it has paused the war, has not paused those attacks which Israel carries out. But as of now, even yesterday, people were killed in Gaza, even aerial strikes happened in Gaza. But WHO also claims that the vaccination program is also going on. Many children have been giving the vaccination for the polio, the outbreak which has happened in the war there. It is a major challenge for the healthcare workers. It is a major challenge for the WHO volunteers who will have to gather these kids and to organize this camp for the vaccination.
As always, Ghazali, thanks so much for joining us with that update. We will, of course, revert to you for regular updates till when this vaccination campaign concludes. With that, let's turn our attention now to Germany, where a far-right party has become the biggest force in parliament for the first time since the Second World War. This is what exit polls are showing at the moment, while a new populist force on the left established a firm foothold in the country's political landscape. Though the populist and anti-immigration alternative FR Deutschland party fell short of a majority in the state of Thuringia and likely won't be part of a governing coalition, it's showing there. And in nearby Saxony, where it's forecast to narrowly place second, was actually a landmark moment for the German far-right voters in two closely watched elections in the former communist East made their dissatisfaction with Germany's mainstream political parties clear. Well, news and updates continue in a moment right after this very short break.
Hi, I'm Shreya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate. Let's rebuild Wayanad.
Some people say the metaverse will only be virtual. One day this lecture hall will be made of code, and driverless cars would be trapped in intersections. But even in this maze of the future, you can't wish away health. It's time to become more resilient. 10 years of Banega Swasth India, we have grown and achieved so many milestones. And now I have a plan to beat the urgency, to stop breathing with difficulty, to relieve getting choked with inactivity. Energize our government, our environment, our society, and ourselves. Everyone, everywhere, every day. Banega Swasth India. One world hygiene.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
Landslide devastation in Kerala's Wayanad. Join NDTV's initiative. Donate for Kerala.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead. From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show. Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m.
Welcome back. After a months-long standoff over disinformation, a Brazilian Supreme Court judge banned billionaire Elon Musk's social media network, X, in the country. And in fact, the judge, Alexandra de Moraes, ordered the immediate, complete and comprehensive suspension of the operation of X in Brazil and told the National Communications Agency to take all necessary measures to implement the order. Now, the judge also threatened a fine of $8,900 to anyone who used tech subterfuges to actually get around the block, like using VPNs or virtual private networks in order to circumvent the ban.
The nationwide ban of social media site X in Brazil has met with mixed responses among the Brazilian youth. The popular platform was banned by the Brazilian Supreme Court on Friday after a months-long politically charged feud between Brazil's top court and tech billionaire Elon Musk.
O povo da nossa idade, pelo menos, não tem muito costume de assistir telejornal, de assistir notícias, então o Twitter meio que era uma forma, pelo menos eu, tinha de ter notícias do mundo inteiro. Então, tipo, eu meio que perdi um pouco o contato com o mundo afora, não sei o quê, tudo mais, também de me distrair, também eu via bastante entretenimento, então, tipo, querendo ou não, tá virando uma nova realidade pra mim agora.
Eu, sinceramente, achei que tá certo, assim, porque todo mundo que eu conheço que usa Twitter, assim, acaba
perdendo um pouco, assim, se perdendo um pouco no que é realidade, que é falso, assim, né? Mas também não sei, assim, deveria ter uma rede social, assim, eu não acho que seja 880, né? Poderia ter uma regulação ali, né? Mas eu acho que tá certo, se o Elon Musk quiser vir aqui e achar que isso aqui é terra da banana, ele tá errado, tipo.
Meanwhile, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has declared that no one is above the law and that Musk must respect the decisions of the country's Supreme Court.
Esse cara tem que aceitar as regras deste país. E se este país tomou uma decisão através da Suprema Corte, ele tem que acatar. Se vale para mim, vale para ele.
The move to block the popular media platform comes after Musk missed a 24-hour deadline imposed by the Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes to name a legal representative in Brazil. Brazil has been without one since last month, and according to its law, foreign companies are required to have representation in the country so that they may be notified of any legal cases against them. The controversy between the two men started when a Supreme Court judge ordered the suspension of several X accounts belonging to supporters of the former Brazilian president. In April, Moraes launched an investigation into Musk, alleging that he had reactivated some of the banned accounts. X claimed that Moraes threatened to arrest one of its legal representatives in Brazil if the platform did not comply, leading Musk to shut down all X offices in the country, citing censorship by the judge. The Supreme Court judge has declared that the ban will stay in place until all court orders are followed, including the payment of fines totaling 18.5 million reais, or $3.28 million, which he had previously slapped on the social media network for ignoring judicial orders. As Brazil grapples with the implication of X's ban, the question on whether this move will work in favor or further ignite existing tensions remains to be seen. Samia Afsar for NDTV World.
In other news, while India has not reported monkeypox cases yet, but it is on alert for a virus that's jumping geographies and is even developing its own vaccine, the question arises why Africa, the center of the endemic, continues to suffer because of vaccine unavailability. While the first world nations had committed to share 31 million doses of vaccine from the smallpox vaccine emergency stockpile with the WHO, that clearly has not happened, with the virus becoming stronger and continuing to pose a public health concern. In fact, African nations hit by the monkeypox virus, some of them are still waiting for vaccines, and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, has issued an emergency tender for the procurement of monkeypox vaccines in view of its rapid spread. This as Mpox has been declared as a public health emergency by the World Health Organization. Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned. We also have The Breakfast Show coming up. We have headlines with the killer rains in Telangana, the Congress BJP huddle for the Haryana polls, and also the highlights from the Paralympics and the emergency release coming up for you in just a moment.
Hi, I'm Shreya Saran. Kerala's Wayanad area is hit by devastating landslides, resulting in loss of lives and livelihood. Kerala needs your help right now. Let's join NDTV initiative. Come, donate, let's rebuild Wayanad.